Well, with me now for more on this topic is Frederic Brunel. He's Associate Professor of Marketing at Boston University's Questrom School of Business. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
So whether you call it economic nationalism or shopping based on your values, what sort of situations tend to give rise to these consumer trends?
Well, if they are coming from the top, as you're an example, obviously that's one possibility. Another possibility is personal values of the consumers who trying to support maybe their friends, their neighbors, their local economy.
So how are you seeing the US-China, their current trade frictions impacting nationalistic buying, firstly in China?
Currently, within the US and China, there are some friction, as we all know. In general, if you look at the place of American brands and the place of Western brands in the Chinese market, these brands are doing well. Chinese consumers look at them as being aspirational and desirable brands. They may not always be the one with the largest market share because they often are sold at a higher price, at some premium compared to the local brands. However, in a particular market like the luxury market, the Western brands are doing extremely well because they have this unique positioning and this unique ability to really convey tradition and expertise.
And what about Trump's Buy American initiative in relation to the trade war in the US? Are we seeing US consumers being more proactive about buying American goods?
Well, some might want to be, and some are trying to be. The problem is, what is an American good today? We live in an integrated economy. So I'm going to ask you this question. What is more American? A Toyota Avalon, designed in Japan, manufactured in Kentucky, by American workers, with suppliers coming from around 20 miles around the factory, or an iPhone, designed in California, manufactured in China by a Taiwanese company?
And I mean,
we don't know.
Exactly.
Consumers don't know how to answer that question.
And so you raise an interesting point, because even as we look at South Korea and Japan in their dispute, now we're seeing that global smartphone shipments are being threatened. Are our supply chains just too interconnected to really be able to say that we can boycott one specific country's goods?
I would say in many instances that's the case. Maybe if we're talking about your locally grown produce at the local farm, all right, we have a pretty good understanding that it's local. But in most advanced manufacturing sectors, it is so integrated, it is so global, that trying to take it apart and figure out which one is Chinese, which one is American, which one is British, who knows?
Now, when these frictions tend to die down, do we tend to see the economic nationalism die down with it, or are there potentially longer-term shifts?
I think it's like a beast that makes a return from time to time. The Buy American Act was passed in this country, in the US, in 1933. That was really for government purchasing. But we have seen Buy American as a movement over the years, for the last 50 years. It comes, it goes, and eventually goes back to some type of equilibrium.
So then how should local or domestic brands capitalize when there is this nationalistic buying trend?
Well, if you're in a strong position to have a claim that you are indeed an American brand and an American product, and it's a time that the American consumer wants to buy local, you can obviously capitalize on this. However, consumers sometimes are hurt by this because there are times where indeed the local player may not be the best alternative at all on the global market, or maybe a more expensive alternative. So you may act on your values, you may also hurt your pocketbook.
Certainly worth keeping in mind. Thank you so much. Frederic Brunel there from Boston University's Questrom School of Business.